My pharmacy got flagged by the DEA on a Wednesday afternoon. I wasn't worried, I'd been clean for 22 years. Then I saw the order was placed at 9:47 p.m. on a Sunday. My pharmacy closes at 6 on Sundays. The call came in around 2:15. I was at the counter sorting through the wholesale invoices from the morning delivery. MedSource Wholesale on the caller ID. That wasn't unusual. They called about back orders, damaged shipments, routine things. Cole's Family Pharmacy, this is Adrian. Mr. Cole, this is Denise over at MedSource. I need to discuss order number 7841J with you. The way she said it, not casual, not routine. What about it? The oxycodone 30 mg, 200 count. That order has been placed on hold pending review. I set down my pen. Review for what? A pause. The kind where the person on the other end is choosing words. Mr. Cole, this order exceeded automated threshold monitoring on our end. Per our distribution compliance protocol, this has been forwarded to DEA Diversion Control. DEA, Diversion Control. 22 years I'd been behind that counter, not one violation, not one board complaint, not one missing pill. My grandfather opened this pharmacy in 1952. My father ran it for 40 years. I took over when he retired in 2014. 3 generations of Coles, and not once, not one single time had any federal agency looked at us. There's been a mistake, I said. That may be the case, but the flag has already been submitted. Someone from the DEA field office in Columbus will likely be in contact within the next week. Can you tell me who placed the order? Keyboard clicking on her end. The order was submitted through your wholesale portal account, authorized under DEA registration number BC4872931. My number, I wrote it on the back of an invoice. BC4872931. My handwriting wasn't steady, I noticed that. My hand wasn't shaking exactly, just not steady. Mr. Cole. I'm here. I'd recommend reviewing your order history. The portal will have timestamps if someone on your staff placed it. I don't have staff who can place controlled substance orders. Silence on her end. Only 2 people have that access, I said, myself and. I stopped, because through the front window I saw the car pull up, dark blue Lincoln, my father's car. Mr. Cole. I'll review the records, thank you, Denise. I hung up. Frank Cole walked through the front door of Cole's Family Pharmacy like he still owned the place. In his mind, he did. 72 years old, white hair combed back, same gray cardigan style he'd worn since I was 12. He nodded at Mrs. Patterson by the blood pressure monitor, asked about her grandson by name. She lit up. That was my father, everyone's trusted pharmacist, everyone's favorite man in town. Afternoon, Adrian. He walked past the counter toward the back office. He had his own key, still, 10 years after retiring. Dad, we need to talk. He stopped, something flickered across his face. Not worry exactly, something else. Then it was gone. Give me 2 minutes, my back's acting up. I followed him into the office. He sat in the chair behind the desk. My chair, my desk, but when he sat there it never felt like mine. I told him about the call, MedSource, the flagged order, the DEA. He listened, didn't interrupt. When I finished, he leaned back and folded his hands on his stomach. The posture of a man who has never been genuinely worried about anything. 40 years I ran this place, he said. You think I don't know the system? This isn't about knowing the system, the DEA. The DEA deals with pill mills, son. Doctors writing scripts out of parking lots, not family pharmacies in Belmont County. He shook his head. It's a computer flag. Wholesalers are paranoid about liability. I'll make a call. To who? People I know, relax. He stood up, put his hand on my shoulder. You've been wound tight lately, since the divorce. It's understandable. He said it like kindness, but it landed somewhere else. A message. You're the one with problems, not me, not the pharmacy. I'll take care of it, he said. Go home early, I'll lock up. And then he was gone, car pulling out of the lot. Mrs. Patterson waved at him through the window. He waved back. I sat there, in my chair, behind my desk, in my pharmacy. Something was wrong in my bones. I pulled up the wholesale portal, found the order. 7841J oxycodone 30 mg 200 count. Ordered Sunday, October 6. Time of submission 9:47 p.m. Sunday. At 9:47 at night. Cole's family pharmacy closes at 6 p.m. on Sundays. Has for 72 years. I stared at the timestamp until the screen blurred. Then I checked the access log. The order was placed using portal credentials linked to DEA number BC487291. My number. Only 2 people in the world had the login, me and my father, but that wasn't the part that got me, not yet. The part that got me was what I found when I pulled the order history. This wasn't the first one. There were others going back. I didn't count them, not that day. I wasn't ready to see the number. I closed the laptop, sat in the dark office. The pharmacy was empty, quiet in a way it never was during business hours. I could smell the powder from the counting trays, old paper from the patient files, and something else. Frank's aftershave still hanging in the air like he'd never left. My phone buzzed, a text from Maya. "Grandpa said you seemed stressed today. You okay?" I looked at the screen. My 16-year-old daughter, checking on me because her grandfather told her to check on me. The same grandfather who just told me to relax, who said he'd make a call, who dismissed a federal drug investigation like a parking ticket. I didn't answer Maya, not yet. Instead, I opened the laptop again, checked one more thing. The order from Sunday, the 9:47 p.m. order, had been placed from an IP address registered to a residential location, not the pharmacy. I recognized the IP address. I'd set up the router myself. 3 years ago, when my father said his internet was too slow, I sat in my pharmacy, in my chair, in the dark, and for the first time in my life I was afraid of my father. I didn't sleep that night, not for 1 minute. I lay in bed with the ceiling fan clicking and the laptop open on the nightstand, the screen casting blue light across the room. Every time I closed my eyes I saw it. The IP address, my father's house. The order at 9:47 p.m. on a Sunday when the pharmacy was dark and empty. I was at the pharmacy by 6:30 the next morning. Thursday. The controlled substance log is a bound book with numbered pages. Legal requirement. Every dose, every pill, every order recorded with date, time, quantity, and initials. I pulled the current volume and started with January. Small things. That was the problem. Every discrepancy was small enough to explain away 5 pills here, 10 pills there. A Tuesday order marked with my initials that I didn't remember signing. A Thursday shipment logged at 8:15 p.m. when I knew I'd been home by 7. The kind of discrepancies that would make you doubt yourself before you doubt anyone else. Coffee got cold. I didn't notice until I took a sip and it was bitter and lukewarm. "You're here early." Frank standing in the doorway of the dispensary, same gray cardigan, same calm. He was holding a cup from the diner down the street, steam still rising. "Couldn't sleep," I said. "I figured you look like hell." He pulled the second stool over and sat down, not across from me, next to me, shoulder to shoulder. Still wound up about that MedSource call. I turned the logbook toward him. "I'm finding things, Dad, orders I didn't place, quantities that don't add up." He didn't look at the book. "You know what I see." He said, "I see a man who's been through a hard 2 years, divorce. Maya splitting her time between 2 houses, running this place alone." He took a sip of his coffee. "That wears on a person, makes them forget things, miss things." I didn't forget these orders. I never made them. "Adrian," his voice dropped, warmer now. The voice he used when I was 12 and scared before a math test. That looked like a man who trusts his father. I said nothing. "You've been distracted since the divorce. We both know it. Maybe it is your mistake. Maybe you placed these orders and don't remember. It happens." I stared at him. "I'm not saying that to hurt you," he said. "I'm saying it because I love you. And I don't want you turning a wholesale computer flag into something that destroys this family." He stood up, set his coffee on the counter, put his hand on my shoulder, the same gesture from yesterday, but this time I felt the weight of it, the pressure. I told you I'd handle it. Let me handle it. He left. I heard him greet someone in the front of the store. Mrs. Patterson again, probably. He sounded like sunshine. I looked back down at the controlled substance log. December, November. I kept turning pages back to September, August, July, and then I stopped. July 14, a Sunday. Oxycodone order logged at 6:42 p.m. Initials in the right-hand column, FC Frank Cole. Why would his initials be on a controlled substance log entry? He hadn't been an active pharmacist here since 2014. He wasn't authorized to sign the controlled substance book. I pulled my phone, checked my calendar app. July 14, Maya's soccer tournament, Columbus, 3 hours away. I'd left Saturday and come back Sunday night. I had the hotel receipt in my email, photographs on my phone. I wasn't in Belmont County on July 14, but the logbook said an oxycodone order was received, counted, and logged at 6:42 p.m. under my father's initials. My hand was on the page. I noticed because my finger was resting on his handwriting. FC, 2 letters, neat, precise. The same handwriting that wrote my name on birthday cards for 44 years. I closed my eyes, then opened them. Nothing changed. I took a photo of the page with my phone, then I kept going. August, September, more Sundays, more FC entries. Different quantities, different times, same initials. I didn't confront him, not yet. I needed to understand what I was looking at, so I did what I should have done yesterday. I went home early, sat at my kitchen table, opened the laptop, and started digging. The wholesale portal kept records going back 7 years. I pulled every order, filtered for controlled substances, sorted by date. Every discrepancy was small enough to explain. That was the problem. Until you looked at them all together, I almost closed the laptop. Almost convinced myself I was being paranoid, a stressed man seeing shadows in paperwork. Then I found the email forwarding rule. It was buried in the pharmacy's email settings. Admin panel, automatic forwarding. Any email from MedSource Wholesale containing order confirmation was forwarded to a second address. Frankel57@gmail.com, my father's personal email. I stared at the screen. Then I checked the rule's creation date. January 14, 2018, almost 7 years ago. He'd been seeing every order confirmation before I ever saw it, every shipment, every controlled substance, every pill for 7 years, and I never knew. The room felt too quiet. I got up. Poured a glass of water, didn't drink it, just stood at the kitchen counter with the glass in my hand. My phone lit up. Maya, text message, photo attached. I opened it. Maya at my father's dining room table. My father's dining room table, the same table where I did homework as a kid. She was beaming, holding a MacBook box. Brand new, silver. At Grandpa's for dinner. He got me the new MacBook, best grandpa ever. 3 exclamation points. I looked at the photo, my daughter's smile, the laptop, his table, drug money. The words came into my head without me asking for them. I didn't push them away. I didn't correct myself. Drug money just bought my 16-year-old daughter a laptop. I sat back down, opened a new folder on my desktop, named it October, and started saving everything. I didn't tell Maya about the MacBook. What was I supposed to say? Your grandfather bought you that laptop with money from pills that could send me to federal prison. I couldn't, not yet, maybe not ever, so I let the message sit. 3 days, 4. She sent another text, Dad, you okay? And I typed back something about being busy at work. She didn't reply. The October folder kept growing. Every night I added something, an email, a screenshot, a page from the controlled substance log with my father's initials circled in red. I was building a case against my own father, and I still couldn't admit to myself that's what I was doing. Monday came. I worked the full shift, counted pills, filled prescriptions, talked to patients about blood pressure and cholesterol and arthritis, smiled through all of it. My father stopped by around noon, asked if I was feeling better, and I said yes. I said yes, and I watched him walk out, and I felt something I'd never felt before in his presence. I felt nothing at all. That scared me more than the fear had. 6 o'clock. I locked the front door, turned the sign to closed. The pharmacy went quiet, that particular quiet of a place built for people when the people are gone. I walked toward the back to get my jacket. Elaine was in the break room. She was sitting at the small table, both hands wrapped around a composition notebook. Black and white marble cover, the kind you buy at any drugstore for $2. Elaine, everything okay? She didn't answer right away. Her hands were wrapped so tight around that notebook her knuckles were pale. Elaine Okonkwo had worked at Kohl's for 18 years. She knew the inventory better than I did. She was quiet, meticulous, showed up early, left on time. In 18 years, I don't think I ever saw her scared. She looked scared now. Mr. Cole. She stopped, swallowed. Adrian, I need to show you something. What's wrong? I should have showed you this a long time ago. She pushed the notebook across the table. I sat down across from her, opened it. Handwriting, her handwriting, neat, small, perfectly legible, page after page, date, time, medication, quantity, initials in the right-hand column. FC, every entry, Frank Cole. March 17, 2021. I read the first entry aloud without meaning to. That's your father's birthday. I looked up at her. That was the first time I saw him do it, she said. It was after closing. He came in with his key. I was still here. I'd stayed late to reconcile the weekly inventory. He didn't see me. He went to the controlled substance cabinet, counted out pills, packed them in a bag, and left. I thought maybe I'd misunderstood what I saw, so I wrote it down, just in case. How many entries? 137. The number sat in the room like a third person. The first entry was dated March 17. I thought maybe it meant something, his birthday, but then I kept reading. April, May, 6 entries in June, 8 in July. I turned pages. Elaine, this is 3 years. Yes. Why didn't you come to me? She looked at the table. Her hands were flat on the wood now, still. Because your father, the way he looks at people, when he's not performing for a customer, when it's just you and him in the back room, he has this way of making you feel like if you cross him, you'll never work in this town again. She lifted her eyes. I have a daughter in college. I'm a single mother. I needed this job. I understood. That was the worst part. I understood completely. But this DEA thing, her voice cracked. She stopped, started again. This DEA thing, I can't let you go down for what he did. I read about what happens to pharmacists who get charged with diversion. You lose your license. You can go to prison. I couldn't live with that. I can't. She pushed the notebook further toward me. Everything I saw, everything I wrote down, it's all there. Does anyone else know? No, she shook her head. Your father told me once, Elaine, loyalty is the only currency that matters in a small town. He smiled when he said it, but it wasn't a smile. I closed the notebook. The cover was worn at the corners. She'd been carrying this for 3 years, writing in it, hiding it, going home every night knowing what she knew and saying nothing. Elaine. Yes. Thank you. She nodded, didn't smile, but her hands relaxed a little on the table. I took the notebook home, sat at my kitchen table, same table where I'd spent every night that week, opened the laptop, pulled up the pharmacy system records, started from March 17, 2021 and worked forward. Entry after entry matched. The logbook had dates and quantities. The system had corresponding order numbers and timestamps. Elaine's careful handwriting lined up against the computer records like 2 halves of a broken plate fitting back together. But the logbook showed something the computer records didn't. Next to most entries, she'd written a note where the pills came from, which shelf, which shipment. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, she'd written what Frank was wearing when he came in, what time he left, whether he looked nervous or calm. He was always calm. Midnight. I should have slept. Instead, I pulled the box from the garage. Cardboard, dusty, marked DEA 222 forms archived. The triplicate forms every pharmacy keeps for controlled substance orders. Federal requirement. Paper copies, not digital. 3 layers, white, yellow, pink. Handwritten by the ordering pharmacist. I pulled the forms from July 2024. July 14. I held the form under the kitchen light, white copy, top sheet, handwriting in blue ink, my father's handwriting. The same handwriting that wrote my name on birthday cards. The same handwriting that signed permission slips for field trips in 1987. Oxycodone HCl 30 mg. Quantity 120. Ordered by Frank Cole RPH. Below it in the signature line, F. Cole, July 14, a Sunday, the Sunday of Maya's soccer tournament. I had the hotel receipt in my email, checked in Saturday at 3 p.m., checked out Sunday at 5 p.m. Columbus. A 3-hour drive from Belmont County. I had photographs on my phone, Maya in her uniform, Maya scoring a goal, Maya with her teammates, all time-stamped. I was provably not in town, but the Form 222 said oxycodone was ordered from this pharmacy, under my father's handwriting, on a Sunday afternoon when I was 3 hours away. He didn't just steal from me. He built the paperwork so that if anyone ever got caught, it would be me. My DEA number, my pharmacy, my license. My signature forged on forms I never saw. It wasn't opportunistic. It wasn't a few pills here and there. It was a system, built over years, with me as the designated criminal. I sat at the kitchen table, the Form 222 in one hand, Elaine's notebook in the other, the laptop screen glowing with system records. The hotel receipt from July 14 on my phone. I said it aloud, not loud, just to the empty kitchen, just to hear it outside my own head. He knew exactly what he was doing. I looked at the form again, from the start. The words didn't go away in the morning. They were still there, hanging in the kitchen like smoke. He knew exactly what he was doing, from the start. I didn't sleep that night either, but this time it was different. Not fear keeping me awake, something harder. I was at the pharmacy before sunrise, 6 in the morning. The parking lot was empty and the security light over the back door flickered. It had been doing that for 2 years and I'd never fixed it. My father always said he'd get to it. The security camera system was in a small room behind the dispensary. Old DVR unit, 12 cameras. I'd installed it myself in 2019 after a break-in 2 towns over. My father thought it was a waste of money. Nobody breaks into a pharmacy in Belmont County, he'd said. Everyone knows everyone. He was right, nobody ever broke in. I pulled up July 14. Camera 4, back hallway facing the controlled substance cabinet. 6:42 p.m. The footage was grainy but unmistakable. My father walked down the hallway, keys in his left hand. He stopped at the cabinet, unlocked it, methodical, unrushed. He removed bottles from the shelf, counted pills into a plastic container, wrote something in the logbook on the counter. Then he packed the container into a bag, locked the cabinet, walked back the way he came. 3 minutes, start to finish. Like he was restocking aspirin. I watched it again. Then a third time. I pulled up another date. June 9, same thing, same gray cardigan, same calm, same 3-minute routine. May, April, March, February, January, I kept going. Sunday after Sunday. Dozens of them. My father alone in the pharmacy, stealing controlled substances on camera while I was at soccer games or sitting in my apartment or anywhere else but here. The chair creaked when I leaned back. I realized I'd been sitting forward, elbows on the desk, face inches from the screen, like getting closer would make it less true. I didn't feel shock anymore. I'd used that up on the Form 222s. What I felt was colder. I pulled a thumb drive from the desk drawer, copied the files. Folders for each date. July 14, June 9, May 5, on and on. My hands were steady, that surprised me. I met Elaine at the Sunrise Diner at 2 o'clock. She was in a corner booth with coffee. The place was mostly empty, a couple of old men at the counter, the waitress refilling ketchup bottles. I slid her notebook across the table. I made copies. You should keep the original. She put it in her purse without looking at it. What's going to happen? She asked. I don't know yet. Your father came in this morning, after you left. She wrapped both hands around her coffee cup. He asked if I'd noticed anything unusual lately, said you'd been acting paranoid. What did you tell him? That I don't pay attention to anything except the inventory. A small, tired smile. Which is true. That's why I noticed what he was doing in the first place. Elaine, I leaned forward. The men who came to the back door, you mentioned them before, tell me about them. She put the coffee down. 2 men, sometimes 3, they always came after closing. Your father would let them in through the back. I'd see headlights in the alley. I stayed late sometimes, catching up on paperwork. Your father didn't know I was there. How often? Every 2 weeks, maybe more. They'd be in the back for 10 minutes and then leave. Your father called them his delivery service. She looked at me. He made a joke out of it. Elaine, you know how it is. Small business, big overhead. Like I was in on the joke. Did you ever see what they took? Boxes, always boxes, the same size every time. She traced a line in the condensation from her coffee cup. He told me once, I'll never forget it, he said, Elaine, loyalty is the only currency that matters in a small town. He was smiling, but I understood what he meant. It wasn't a compliment. It was a warning. The waitress came by, refilled Elaine's coffee. Neither of us spoke until she was gone. If this goes somewhere, I said, if there's an investigation, would you be willing to say what you saw? A long pause. She looked out the window. The street was quiet, leaves blowing across the sidewalk. October in a small town, if it comes to that. She turned back to me. Yes. I nodded, thank you. I'm not doing it for you, she said, not unkindly, just honest. If your father goes down, this pharmacy closes. I lose my job either way. At least this way I can sleep. I understood that too. I was in my car outside the apartment when Maya called. 7:30, dark already. The phone lit up with her picture, that one from last summer, sunglasses on, laughing at something off camera. Hey, sweetheart. Dad, her voice was tight, not sad, something else. I need to ask you something. What's wrong? Grandpa came over tonight. He said you've been acting strange. He said you might try to hurt the pharmacy. The words landed in my chest and didn't move. He said you've been paranoid since the divorce, that you're not thinking clearly. She paused. I could hear her breathing. Is that true? Maya, listen to me. There are things happening at the pharmacy that you don't know about. Things your grandfather. He said you'd say that. Her voice was harder now. He said you'd try to blame him for something. That it's what you do when you're, she stopped. When I'm what? When you're like this. The car was dark. The street was empty. I was gripping the phone so hard my fingers ached. Your grandfather is not telling you the truth. Then tell me the truth. I opened my mouth, and nothing came out. How do you tell your 16-year-old daughter that her grandfather, the man who taught her to ride a bike, who came to every school play, who bought her a MacBook 4 days ago, is a criminal? How do you say those words and expect her to believe them? You're just jealous, she said. Her voice cracked. You're just jealous because everyone respects him more than you. Frank's words delivered in my daughter's voice. Maya. Don't call me for a while. She hung up. I sat in the car, engine off, keys in my hand. The street lamp buzzed overhead. Someone's porch light went on across the street. He'd taken the pharmacy. He'd taken my career. He'd taken my name. And now he was taking my daughter, not by accident, on purpose. He was working her, using her, turning her into a shield. I started the car, not toward the apartment, toward the pharmacy. It was time. I drove to the pharmacy that night but didn't go inside. Sat in the parking lot with the engine running and the headlights cutting 2 lines across the empty asphalt. The neon sign was off. The windows were dark. It looked like it had been closed for years. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough for the heater to make the car too warm. Long enough to understand that I wasn't going to find answers by staring at a dark building. I went home, slept maybe 3 hours, went back Friday morning. The second flag came at 9:15 a.m., same wholesaler. Different representative this time, a man named Greg who sounded like he'd made this exact call 100 times. Mr. Cole, we're placing your account on administrative hold. Order number 7913F oxycodone 30 mg, 300 count. This is the second threshold trigger in 9 days. When was it placed? Last night, 11:42 p.m. 300 pills. The first order was 200. That triggered the initial DEA review. My father knew that. He knew the wholesaler was watching. He knew the DEA was probably already building a file, and he ordered 300 more. At 11:42 at night, while I was sitting in my car in the pharmacy parking lot, while I was trying to figure out how to stop this thing, he was ordering more pills. "I understand," I said. "Thank you, Greg." I hung up, stood behind the counter, hands flat on the glass. The pharmacy was empty, slow Friday morning. Mrs. Patterson wouldn't be in until after lunch. I was alone. The front door opened, his footsteps, I knew them, knew the rhythm of them, knew the sound of his keys in his pocket. Adrian. Frank walked up to the counter, same cardigan, same calm. "You look like you've seen a ghost." 300 pills last night. His expression didn't change. "That's twice in 9 days, Dad." The wholesaler froze the account. The DEA. The DEA doesn't care about a family pharmacy in Belmont County. He said it like he was explaining weather patterns to a child. "I know people. I told you I'd handle this." "You know people." My voice came out flat. "What people? Who do you know who can make a federal drug investigation disappear?" He stepped closer, put his coffee down on the counter, deliberate, slow. "I've been doing this a long time, son, longer than you've been alive. You need to trust me." "Trust you?" "Yes, trust me. Like I trusted you when you gave me the keys to this place. Like I trusted you when you told me you were retired. Like I trusted you every Sunday for the past 6 years when you came in here after hours and helped yourself to whatever you wanted." Something shifted behind his eyes. "I don't know what you think you know. I know about the orders." I was gripping the edge of the counter. "I know about the Form 222s with your handwriting on them. I know about July 14. You came in at 6:42 p.m. while I was at Maya's soccer tournament in Columbus. 3 hours away. I have the camera footage. I have the hotel receipt. I have the controlled substance log with your initials on every entry." The silence was absolute. "You've been using my DEA number since 2018. You set up an email forwarding rule so you'd see every order confirmation before I did. You built a parallel operation inside my pharmacy and set me up to take the fall if it ever went wrong." He didn't deny it. He didn't say anything. When he finally spoke, his voice was lower. Not apologetic, not defensive, just lower. "You need to trust me, son, like you always have." "I can't do that anymore." The change was instant. The warmth drained from his face, not slowly, instantly, like a door slamming shut. "Be very careful what you say next." It wasn't a warning, it was a threat. I looked at him, this man, this 72-year-old man in a gray cardigan who taught me to ride a bike and count pills and treat customers like family. He was threatening his own son, not with violence, with something worse, with destruction. "Or what, Dad?" My voice was quiet, steadier than I expected. "You'll destroy me." He said nothing. "You already did that 6 years ago, under my own DEA number." I walked out, past the counter. Past him, through the front door. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what his face looked like when he was caught. I'd seen it on the security footage. Calm, calculating, already working the next move. That night I sat at my kitchen table and assembled everything. Elaine's logbook, 3 years, 137 entries, every page dated in her neat handwriting. The thumb drive, security footage. My father in the controlled substance cabinet, Sunday after Sunday. The Form 222 copies, triplicate forms in his handwriting. Side-by-side comparison with the pharmacy system records. The ARCOS data, DEA order history showing anomalies on dates I was provably out of town. The hotel receipt, July 14, Columbus, 3 hours away. A timeline on a yellow legal pad, every date. Every order, every piece of evidence, cross-referenced and verified. It took me 3 hours to write the self-disclosure. The DEA has a form on their website. Voluntary Self-Disclosure of Controlled Substance Act Violations. 23 pages, every question answered, every piece of evidence attached. My phone buzzed at 11:30 p.m. Maya. Grandpa told me everything. You're trying to blame him for your mistakes. Mom was right about you. I read it twice, put the phone down, it buzzed again. Don't call me for a while. I stared at the screen, my daughter's name. The same name I'd said 1,000 times across 1,000 small moments, school drop-offs, soccer games, bedtime stories, her hand in mine crossing the street. I picked up the phone, set it down, picked it up again. Then I put it face down on the table and kept typing, because there was nothing I could say to her right now. Not one word that would undo what he'd planted. The only way she'd ever believe me was if the truth came from someone else, someone official, someone she couldn't dismiss as jealous or paranoid or broken. I finished the form at 1:45 a.m., reviewed every page, every answer, every attachment. At 2:14 a.m. I hit submit. The screen changed. Confirmation number. Case reference. Your disclosure has been received by the DEA Office of Diversion Control. A representative will contact you within 48 hours. I closed the laptop, sat in the dark kitchen. The only light was the street lamp through the window, the same buzzing orange light from the parking lot 6 hours ago. It was done. DEA had it. My father didn't know. Maya didn't know. The town didn't know. But the machine was in motion, no taking it back. The DEA field office in Columbus is on the 4th floor of a federal building downtown. Beige walls, beige carpet, metal chairs in the waiting area that had been sat in by 1,000 worried people before me. I wasn't worried. I wasn't anything. 3 hours of sleep in 2 days will do that. Diversion investigator Maria Santos met me at the reception desk, mid-40s. Dark suit, handshake that was firm without being aggressive. She didn't smile. She didn't look hostile either. She looked like someone who had seen everything and was waiting to see which category I fell into. Mr. Cole, your disclosure triggered an automated review. I've been assigned to your case. She led me to a small conference room, windowless, fluorescent lights. I'll be honest, we don't get many voluntary self-disclosures from pharmacists. Most wait until we knock. I'm not most pharmacists. She didn't react to that. Sat down across from me, opened a laptop. You stated in your filing that the violations were committed under your DEA registration number but not by you. Walk me through it. I opened the folder, Elaine's logbook first. 137 entries, 3 years, every page dated, every quantity noted. Every initial FC Santos turned the pages slowly, didn't speak. Then the thumb drive. Security footage from the pharmacy, multiple dates. This one, July 14 of this year, shows my father accessing the controlled substance cabinet at 6:42 p.m. on a Sunday. The pharmacy closes at 6. I was at my daughter's soccer tournament in Columbus. I slid the hotel receipt across the table. 3-hour drive. I have time-stamped photographs. Then the Form 222s, triplicate forms in my father's handwriting, side by side with pharmacy system records showing matching dates and quantities. Then the ARCOS data, anomalies flagged, patterns that matched no legitimate prescribing schedule. Then the timeline, yellow legal pad, every date, every order, every piece of corroborating evidence, cross-referenced and verified. Santos spent 20 minutes going through everything. She didn't rush. She went back to certain pages twice. When she got to the camera stills, a printed frame showing Frank Cole at the controlled substance cabinet, keys in hand, her expression flickered. Just once. A tightening around the eyes. She closed the folder. Mr. Cole, do you understand that coming forward voluntarily is the only reason you're not in handcuffs right now? I understand. Your father's been operating under your credentials since at least 2018. The volume of controlled substances diverted is significant enough to trigger federal charges. You would have been the primary suspect. I know. She leaned back, studied me for a long moment. We'll take it from here. She stood, gathered the evidence folder. You should go home, Mr. Cole. Your father won't be expecting us. I drove back to Belmont County. 3 hours. The same drive I'd made in reverse after Maya's soccer tournament. Same highway, same exits, everything the same, nothing the same. I went to the pharmacy at 7:30 after closing. Used my key one last time. He was already there, sitting in the back office, in the chair behind the desk. The chair that was never really mine. Knew you'd come. He didn't turn around. You always do. I stood in the doorway. I've been thinking, he said. About everything, about what this family built. Your grandfather, me, you. He shook his head slowly. The performance was perfect. The same voice he used at funerals. Warm, regretful, wise. I made mistakes. I can admit that, but we can fix this. Family fixes things. That's what we do. He turned then. Looked at me with something that almost passed for love. Just tell me what you want. We'll figure it out together, like we always have. I let the silence sit. I filed a voluntary self-disclosure with the DEA this morning. The words landed. I watched them land. His face changed, not all at once, in stages. First confusion as if he'd misheard, then disbelief as if I'd made a joke he didn't understand, then something he was trying very hard to control. What did you say? Everything, Dad. The camera footage, the Form 222s, Elaine's records, the ARCOS data, the IP address from your house, the email forwarding rule you set up in 2018. I didn't move from the doorway. They know it was you, all of it, for at least 6 years. The color drained from his face. His mouth opened. Closed. He stood up. His chair rolled back and hit the filing cabinet. You destroyed this family. No, my voice was steady, quieter than I expected. You destroyed us. I just stopped covering for it. Stepped toward me. For 1 second I thought he might, I don't know what, swing at me, push past me, something. Headlights swept across the parking lot. Through the window, 2 vehicles, dark SUVs. He saw them. I saw him see them. His face crumbled, not dramatically, not like a movie. Like a man who had spent 40 years building a reputation and just watched it fall apart in the space of a single sentence. His shoulders dropped. His hands went to his sides. You're my son, he said. I know. I taught you everything. I know. 2 agents at the front door. Santos behind them. She caught my eye, nodded once. They led him out in handcuffs. He didn't resist, didn't shout. He walked through the front of the pharmacy, past the blood pressure monitor where he'd talked to Mrs. Patterson, past the counter where he'd taught me to count pills at age 12, past the sign that said Coles Family Pharmacy, ESD. 1952. I watched from the door, didn't follow. When the tail lights disappeared, I turned off the lights, locked the door. Stood in the parking lot for a minute. The neon sign flickered, same flicker as always. I didn't go back inside. 1 week later, boxes stacked by the apartment door. Not that many. A 44-year-old man who'd spent his whole life in one town doesn't accumulate much. The pharmacy was in receivership, sold to a chain. The proceeds covered the legal fees and the fines. My license was cleared. No charges filed. The self-disclosure had worked. The local paper was on the kitchen counter. I'd read it twice. Community pillar arrested in federal drug investigation. A photograph of my father, that photo, the one from the Chamber of Commerce dinner 3 years ago, smiling, gray cardigan. Beloved pharmacist charged in opioid diversion scheme. Not one mention of who reported him. Maya hadn't returned my calls. 4 messages, each one shorter than the last. Her last text was 3 words, I need time. I understood. She was 16. Her grandfather had been arrested. Her father was the one who made it happen. She didn't have the full picture yet. Maybe she never would. That was the hardest part. Not the arrest, not the pharmacy, not the town. Knowing that I did the right thing and my daughter might never believe it, I loaded the last box into the truck. A few clothes, laptop, the yellow legal pad, Elaine's notebook. She'd told me to keep it. I don't need it anymore, she'd said. I can sleep now. I took one last look at the apartment, the town behind it. The pharmacy 3 blocks away, the one my grandfather opened in 1952, the one my father corrupted, the one I saved and lost in the same act. Got in the truck, started the engine, pointed it toward a highway I'd never taken before, west. No particular destination, just away. The pharmacy neon flickered in the rearview mirror. Cole's Family Pharmacy. 3 generations, 72 years. I watched until it was too small to read. Then I watched until it was gone.